Overwatch will never be the same again. That's right, perks are coming to your favorite hero, or heroes, and all this will fundamentally alter the way we look at, feel about, and play Overwatch. This is something that will change the meta across all skill brackets from bronze all the way up to the coveted champion rank. They're coming with the launch of Season 15 on February 18th, and this video will go through all the perks hero by hero, but also adding analysis on what this means for you as a player and how it'll impact your game. So let's get into it. Alright, so first of all, I want to start by answering a question that you might have, which is why should you be watching this video about perks and not another one? Now, most of the videos I've seen about this don't really talk about what these perks mean for the player and how they could impact the game and do the analysis. Now, I'm going to try to be spending a little time on each hero and try to shed a bit of light on how this will potentially impact the game and how you could use it to your advantage. We're going to be going through all of these, but feel free to skip to whatever hero or heroes you're interested in using the timestamps, but I do advise you to watch the full video because it is most likely going to make a big difference for you. Why? Because you want to know what these heroes will be doing, what they will be capable of doing. It's not just about the heroes that you like to play or the heroes that you want to play, it's about understanding the battlefield as a whole, because it is going to change drastically. And it will not be making sense unless you can understand what those heroes are basically pulling out of their hats, so to speak, starting with Season 15. So let's dive right into it. Alright, so first up we have D.Va. Call max damage radius is increased by 50%, or eject grants 75% temporary overhealth. Now I just want to state that this is a typo here. I checked the Blizzard official screenshot with this. It is just 75 temporary overhealth. So if you've seen other people looking at this webpage, just know that this is wrong. It is 75 flat health, okay, as temporary overhealth. Now, I will say that even though it is only 75 and not 75%, which would be a lot more than actually 75, but even so, this is quite useful because first of all, you can ult while you eject. So while your mech is being broken, you automatically eject. During that time, you can still ult as D.Va in case you didn't know that. So that 75 overhealth will make it harder for people to kill you as baby D.Va. So this is quite valuable actually because you're really squishy as baby D.Va, and in that time window until the mech does explode, there will be a lot of people, I mean there are a lot of situations where people do try to kill the baby D.Va, but this will make it harder for them. So I think that this is pretty good value compared to the first minor perk, because I feel that call max damage radius increasing by 50%, I mean it's decently large, and even if you were to make it larger, it's pretty niche. So, you know, it would take, like, the easiest way you get kills with this is either if they're somehow crowd controlled or basically stunned, disabled, slept, and so on. Or if you're doing it by the door and you manage to, like, a door that they cannot see through, and you basically surprise them and the mech falls on their head. But honestly, I feel that the second one is better overall value because you don't want to be dying when you have your mech being broken. Now, as for the major perks, we have the first one, convert 150 health to shields, and defense matrix restores shields based on 25% of its damage absorbed. Now the second one, I will just go over it real quick. So micro missiles are swapped for heavy rockets, which fire fewer projectiles with increased damage and explosion size. Now I've seen this on stream and this did not feel like a big deal to me. Actually, in some situations it actually might have felt worse to me. I mean, we'll have to see in-game more as we get hands-on experience with this, but honestly, it did not feel the slot of a major perk. This one, however, I feel is very, very useful. First of all, you get some extra shields, like not extra, some of your health is converted to shields, which is also always useful in general, just because shields recharge by themselves and they take a very little amount of time to do so. At the same time, defense matrix restores shields based on 25% of its damage absorbed. This is huge for survivability for D.Va, because D.Va, before, if you activated defense matrix, especially in a situation where you were pulling out, like you're withdrawing, you're going back, right, you would be able to block some of the damage that was projectile based, right? And you'd get the other damage, but you still take some damage, but only negate the projectile damage, right? So basically you would still be taking damage, or at best stay at the same amount of HP. Whereas right now you will be, I mean, with the addition of this major perk, you will be able to be healing, to heal yourself as you go back, or even as you push forward. I mean, any situation, whatever. I just gave an example based on what would seem like good value to me. So honestly, I think that this is really good, and it might be a little bit too good. We're just gonna have to see. D.Va is already in a very good place right now, so adding this, I'm not exactly sure how it's going to turn out, but I guess we'll have to see. Okay, so next up we have Doomfist. Hitting an enemy with Rocket Punch reloads all hand cannon ammo, or the best defense grants 25 overhealth from eliminations, and its max overhealth is increased by 50. Now personally, I believe that the first minor perk is more useful and will generally be picked by most players, because it is, first of all, a very nice quality of life change. It cuts down on reload time, and especially, for example, if you've hit all your shots and you're waiting on a reload, like, you could try, if you have your punch off cooldown and you want to go for a punch, you could try hitting that punch, just basically avoiding the reload completely, and hitting that punch will basically reload your entire ammunition on the hand cannons. So I think that this one is primarily what people are going to aim for. The second perk is also pretty useful for Doomfists who are aggressive and who like to chain eliminations. They feel that they know they can get an elimination, they're going to go for it, and that way you're going to get 25 overhealth from this, plus what you get from the rest of using your abilities, and also the max overhealth is increased by 50. 50 is not such a big number, but the thing is, it stacks on what you already have, making this pretty good as well. Of course, this is a bit more defensive option, while this is a more offensive and quality of life option. So I think both are good, both are useful, depends on the player and the type of game you have. Go for what you think is best for you in the given situation. Now, the major perks: hitting 3 or more enemies with Seismic Slam empowers Rocket Punch, or Power Block absorbs projectiles for the first second of its duration. Now honestly, the first one is really good, and it's applicable in pretty much every game, with a few exceptions. If the enemy team is quite spread apart usually, and they have, for example, like a flying hero like an Echo and maybe a Pharah, and the Mercy in there as well, you know, you're not going to be able to hit those targets with the slam so much. And the same if they have like a very mobile tank, like maybe a Winston or a D.Va, or even a mirrored Doomfist, right? And if their DPS is something like I don't know, a Tracer and so on, like if their team doesn't really stay together, then this one might not be the best choice in that particular game. But usually you'll be able to pull this off even in games like those. But outside of those games, you will pretty much be able to get this, and this is huge because empowering Rocket Punch even more often than Doom can currently do is pretty huge. Okay, these empowered rocket punches are a big deal. Now the second one, the Power Block absorbing projectiles for the first second of its duration. I mean, honestly, if you compare this to, for example, to D.Va's defensive matrix, right, it's really underwhelming. So I'm not sure exactly what this is going to give you. It's just 1 second and it's only projectiles. It's not like you block out the other damage. So honestly, I'm not sure why this is here. It can be good sometimes, because you can help your team with this, right? So if you're in front of your team and you know that there's a lot of, like, for example, a Pharah ult, right, coming right there, and you can help your team by basically blocking those projectiles for a second, giving your team more time and to react to something like that. So honestly, this is more niche, and yeah, you'll have to think about whether or not it's really worth picking this up. I think the first one is net superior to this one. So next up we have Hazard. A Violent Leap Slash deals 30% more damage to enemies above 250 health, or Jagged Wall hits Charged Spike Guard with 25 energy up to 50 extra. Now, the first one, this is pretty good for initiation and shaving off that bit of extra HP on that initiating blow. It is going to apply to heroes at 250, but it says above 250 health, so I don't think it applies to heroes that are at 250 health. The wording is pretty specific. It doesn't say at or above, it says above. So that basically means the higher HP heroes like Mei and Reaper and all the tanks. Now, of course, this is very good because it will basically give you that extra push that you need, like when you're starting to initiate. So it basically increases the damage of Violent Leap, which is pretty good. So I don't think it's a bad choice in any case. But the second one, though, this one, and I'll explain in conjunction with the major perk, this one is extremely good if you ask me, because that extra energy can be used to block longer, and in conjunction with the major perk, which we're going to get to now, Spike Guard, Spike, gain 25% lifesteal. Now this is pretty huge. So Spike Guard has been pretty much rebalanced lately after the launch of Hazard because it was a little bit too strong and they toned it down. But basically this one is going to allow you to also heal more or less while you're blocking. You're going to be able to have self-sustain much higher than before. I mean, before you would block, you would do damage and you would reduce incoming damage. Now you're also healing. So you're basically doing everything that you could possibly do, right? So this is very good. Now in conjunction with the Jagged Wall perk, Spike Guard is going to be able to last longer and you're going to get insane value out of it. So I think that the synergy here is quite huge. But the same could be said about the first perk and the second major perk, which we're going to get to now. Violent Leap's range is increased by 20%. So in games where you prefer much better initiation, I think that the first minor perk with the second major perk is going to be a great combination. And everywhere else where you don't really care about that extra initiation boost, you will be going for Reconstitution and Anarchic Zeal, right? So this is very good. I think it's one of the strongest perk combinations in the game right now. So this is basically A tier or S tier perk combination. There will be a few more like this. I will mention it when the case arises, but this is very good. So in my opinion, Reconstitution and Anarchic Zeal will be the way to go in most games.
Yay!
Next up, we have Junkrat Queen. Recalling Jagged Blade from a stuck target refreshes its wound, or Commanding Shout fully reloads Scattergun and increases allied reload speed by 50%. Now, Recalling Jagged Blade for refreshing a wound is a very nice quality of life / damage boost for Jagged Blade and can be used in many situations, like especially an isolated target that if you were to refresh the wound, the target could die, or you would force them to back up. There are many situations, and in general, it doesn't even matter if that is the particular situation. This is just something added to Jagged Blade, which is something I like. The second one, Commanding Shout fully reloads Scattergun and increases allied reload speed by 50%. Now, I believe that this is great because the reload on Junkrat Queen is a little bit clunky, and it feels like the gameplay flow just gets slightly thrown off pace when the reload happens, and so is her primary fire. So I think that this is really, really good. But the interesting part is that it also increases allied reload speed by 50%. 50% is a lot, guys. This is going to yield a lot of value in many compositions that have Junkrat Queen. Now the major perk, Scattergun hits extend your wound durations on those enemies by 0.25 seconds. And the second one, Carnage's impact damage gains 100% lifesteal. Now, honestly, I think the first one is okay. Extra wound duration, not bad, but I feel like the second one is a little bit too good compared to the first one. So I'm not entirely sure. There will probably be games in which the first one will be better if you have trouble getting closer, and that's something you want to take, but I don't know if that's really somewhere where you want to be playing Junkrat Queen anyway, because you really want to be making use of that Carnage impact. So my take is that the second one, 100% lifesteal, is a lot, and coupled with her already with her kit, which is already oriented towards lifesteal, this is going to be very, very strong. So I think that the second one will be used more than the first one. So next up we have Mauga. Overrun reloads up to 150 ammo while charging, or while on an objective, Mauga counts as 2 heroes and regenerates 20 health per second. So the first one is up to 150 ammo while charging. So this means it is probably proportional to the amount of time that you are running. So it's based on that, keep that in mind. Now the second one, while being on an objective, meaning a point that needs to be contested, a payload, or the push bot, Mauga counts as 2 heroes, so this is going to make the point cap faster or the payload move faster and so on, and regenerates 20 health per second. Now, I'm not sure about this second minor perk. Personally, I'm not really such a fan of non-skill based perks. This is not really skill based in any way. It is just something you have, period. Like you just have to be there, and that's it. If you are on an objective, you will benefit from this. So I'm not really a fan of these things. It's something that doesn't reward. You don't really have to do anything to get this. I mean, you have to be on objective, of course, but that will happen a lot during the game. So yeah, it is I won't say it's overpowered, but it is pretty nice to have a constant 20 health heal, 20 health per second, for just basically being there. I don't know. I don't think it's really overpowered, but it's something to keep into account. He will be able to hold his own much easier using this perk. Now the major ones: Overrun ignites enemies hit, or critical hits grant Mauga to temporary overhealth on cardiac overdrives next use, up to 100 overhealth. Now the second one will of course give more survivability. It's pretty straight up. But the first one is a little interesting. Overrun ignites enemies hit. So if you're running through a lot of enemies, or they're bunched up, and especially if it leads to an ult combo, that can be, in my opinion, very good. You can get a lot of value from that. So I think that the first one is pretty interesting, unless you're looking for the added survivability. Of course, this will depend on the composition you're playing and who you're playing against. Looking at Orisa, primary fire critical hits refund heat, or Fortify briefly grants an additional 100 overhealth when activated. Now, the first one is a pretty much all-around consistent passive effect that it probably will feel pretty good. You'll have a lot more uptime on your primary fire if you're getting those critical hits, those headshots. The second one, however, Fortify is already pretty beefy, so I don't think it's something in particular that will be very good on normal Fortify usage, but you have to keep in mind that when Orisa does ult, she also benefits from Fortify, so this will probably just add another 100 health to her ult, so she's going to be a little bit harder to kill during that ult, and she's probably going to be able to charge faster. I mean, charge it up more. Even though you're trying to nuke her down, she'll be able to withstand more. So I think that the second one is good for situations where there will be a lot of damage coming in. I mean, you're playing against a composition that can put out a lot of damage in a very short amount of time. The first one is all around good, and I think a lot of people will probably take the first one, if you ask me. Now, the major perks: hold the right mouse button to charge energy javelin, increasing its speed, and knockback pierces enemies at full power, or convert javelin speed to instead launch a barrier. Now, the second one is basically Orisa's shield from Overwatch 1. It is the same, it looks the same, it is basically that ability came back. So I'm not actually such a big fan of this, because I think Orisa is already pretty tanky. She has insane amount of armor, she has Fortify, she has the javelin spin, and adding another shield is maybe in my book a little bit too much, but we'll see how it plays out. Now, as for charged javelin, this is pretty strong, but you do have the chance to see it coming, because she has to hold it for a little while. So if you're looking at her, you'll just basically see the spear charging up. So you know, if you're playing corners, which you should probably be doing anyway, you have the chance to avoid this just by ducking behind the corner, waiting for the javelin to go off, and it won't be able to spear you. But in many situations, you won't have that opportunity, and there will be, you know, people lining up and stuff, especially with other ult combos and stuff like this abilities. So I think this is pretty strong. I don't know. I don't think that she needs that much extra survivability, so I think that the first one, making Orisa more offensive, is what people will want to go for. I think that the javelin change is very strong, and I think this is what we're going to be seeing in most games. Next up, we have Ramatra. Void Accelerator periodically releases a burst of 6 additional projectiles during continuous fire, or Void Barrier's duration is increased by 25%. Now, the first one is a pretty nice quality of life slash damage boost for primary fire. It will also help you get your ult charge faster, so this is something to keep in mind. And it's obviously, you don't have to toggle, this is permanently there, it's always on, right? So consistency is 100% basically, so it's just something that you can get any game without thinking too much about it. Now the second one, Prolonged Barrier, the Void Barrier HP does not go up, just its duration, so I'm not exactly sure how many people are going to prefer this over the second one. If it also increased HP slightly, maybe more people would take it. It has quite beefy HP right now, so it's not such a big deal, but I honestly feel that the first perk is all around more useful, especially since it gives you faster ultimate regeneration. Now the major perks, the Nanite Repair, Ramatra is healed for 50 health per second while within Ravenous Vortex. This is pretty good actually. 50 health per second is a lot. It's like a Zen heal, like a Zen orb on you, and it's something that you can basically use for yourself when you need it, and it's there on demand. Pretty decent. I won't say it's too strong. I think it's just something that you can use whenever you need. But of course, you can also use this before going to Nemesis form if you're taking a lot of damage, and you can like use it and then change to Nemesis form and block, and the heal is going to basically help you out a lot in that situation. So I think that's a very nice addition. Now the Vengeful Vortex, while Ravenous Vortex is airborne, use E again to detonate it, dealing 50 damage and pulling enemies downward. This is pretty nice for obviously games where you have flying targets like Pharah, Echo, Mercy, and so on, where you can just basically just pull them out of the sky. Not only do you pull them out of the sky, but they will be, you know, grounded. They will be slowed when they come to the ground. So I think this is very useful. It's pretty much the only tank that will have anything like this. So very nice addition. He doesn't really have much to deal with flying targets, so I think this is great. For Reinhardt, while using Barrier Field, your passive health regeneration triggers 50% sooner, or Barrier Field is healed for 100% of Fire Strike's damage dealt. Now, honestly, the health regeneration triggering 50% sooner might sound nice, but I'm not sure how applicable it is going to be in many games. I mean, it'll have, of course, there will be instances where it'll proc and you'll get some value out of it, but honestly the second one, the shield being able to being healed by 100% of Fire Strike's damage dealt, keep in mind that Fire Strike, you have 2 charges of Fire Strike, and Fire Strike can pierce targets and it can damage more than one target, so you can get a lot of extra shield health, not extra shield health, but basically regenerating your shield based on that damage. So I think that the second one is quite good, and I would probably prefer it over the first one. Now for the major perks, while Barrier Field is active, use left mouse button to damage and knock back enemies. This is basically it's like Briggs Shield Bash, but on Rein, and of course the shield is much wider as well. Now this is pretty good, but it doesn't stun. Of course, it's just a knockback, so it's like the normal Briggs Shield Bash without her ult on. I think that this is very good. It's something that will add a lot of interesting gameplay to Reinhardt, and I think this is just awesome because it'll make it much more fun to play, and it also make people a little bit more wary getting close to Reinhardt, even though when he's holding his shield and backing up, since he has this ability. And it also will allow him to do some more offensive plays using this ability as well. Nice combos with this. I think this is going to be great. The second one, charge damage grants temporary overhealth for 50% of the damage dealt. Now, honestly, this, I mean, it's basically a passive ability, so every pin that you do is going to give you that overhealth, but I'm not exactly sure when I'd take this over the first major perk. The first major perk is pretty huge to me, and the charge is going to be, of course, the charge perk can also, if you can also pull off a bit more risky charges, right? So if you know you're going to get the pin off, but for example you're going to be going into a position that is a little bit overextended, and you know you're not going to have your team around much, you're not going to like fend for yourself, you're just trying to make some space, and you have to do a risky play, this can help, because that overhealth is going to be a nice extra buffer that you'll probably need in those situations. So it can be useful, but I still think that the first perk is going to be the more popular one, and it's what people are going to pick. Moving on to Roadhog, chain hook hits reload 2 ammo, or Pigpen's throw range is increased by 50%. So the hook reloading 2 ammo is a pretty nice quality of life change, and so is the 50% increased range for Pigpen. Personally, I think that people will just go for the hook, especially since you can pretty much, for example, if you're running out of ammo and you have the hook available, you can throw the hook. If you get the hook in, you don't have to, I mean, you wouldn't have to reload. You can just go for the hook, and the ammo will be there for when you hook somebody. So I think that the first one is quite useful. The second one is a quality of life change. I don't think it's as huge as the first one. I think most people will go for the first one. Now for the major one, the major perks, Take a Breather rapidly increases Roadhog's movement speed by 30%, or Take a Breather also heals nearby allies for 50% of healing. I think that this, in most games, people are going to go for the movement speed because it is just so much more useful to be able to go in and out of places faster. Movement speed on Hog is pretty huge, so I think people are just going to opt for this. The second one, of course, if you're more of a team player, but I don't know, Hog is a lot about flanking, about getting those hooks in, so that extra movement speed, I don't know. The second one, of course, will maybe provide some value based on the matchup, so like what composition you're playing and what composition they're playing. If you have something that is going to benefit from this, you can go for this, but honestly I think that most people by far will be going for the first major perk here. For Sigma, we have Absorbing Projectiles with Kinetic Grasp also reduces Accretion's cooldown, or Accretion's knockdown duration increases up to 3 seconds based on travel distance. Now both are useful. I think that both have their application, and you can pretty much go for any one of them. Personal preference really, but honestly this extra stun, it says up to 3 seconds based on travel distance, so you're probably not going to get, I mean obviously you're not going to get 3 seconds all the time, but everything added onto the original stun, if you can get any extra stun duration, is going to be great value. It is very, very good, and I think that this one will basically be more used than this one, because I mean, who doesn't want a longer stun duration in general? So Absorbing Projectiles with Kinetic Grasp also reduces the cooldown of Accretion. Of course, this is good. You can take this, especially in a game in which you want to be using Absorb Projectiles, to be using Kinetic Grasp a lot. So if you're playing against a lot of projectile-heavy opponents, this can be good. Now, the major ones, every 5 direct hits with Hyperspheres, your next successful quick melee levitates and knocks away enemies. Now, my question about this one is that I'm not entirely sure, but I think it is that way. Basically, does this effect go away unless you use melee or not? So if you can get this every 5 direct hypersphere impacts and keep it until you actually want to use that melee, then this is pretty good. If you have to like keep on hitting hyperspheres, or if the ability times out after a certain amount of time, then probably not as good. But I think it works in the first version, so I think it basically doesn't really expire because it doesn't mention anything here about that. Now, this one, activate and hold double jump briefly to levitate upward. This second perk is pretty nice. It's pretty nice because it allows you to do something you've never been able to do before, except using your ult to like go to be airborne. It is going to help you get onto some high grounds as well. Very interesting, and doesn't really require, there's no real condition for this, so you can just use this all the time. I think this second one is going to be used like unless they have something, they're playing something like more dive-ish or something that they really want to close the distance with, people are going to be going for this one. This one is also very good in my opinion, but it'll be more situational than the second one. The second one is pretty much good all around in all games. So for Winston, we have Tesla Cannon deals 30% more damage to deployable objects. This is pretty solid and very good. I think this has been talked about before around the forums and Reddit and stuff like that. I think people were talking about this, how Winston should be able to take down like Torp turrets faster and sim teleporters and stuff like that. So I think this is going to be great. If you're playing one of those games against sim, Torp, and so on, like this is going to help you a lot, and the sim turrets as well, not just the teleporter. So the second one, during Primal Rage, jump packs damage and area increase by up to 75% while airborne. I mean, basically more damage and more area during Primal. Pretty nice. I would say like Primal is not usually that much of a damage focused ult. It's more something about displacing enemies and crowd control and just kind of surviving more and stuff like that. Be extremely annoying. But the added damage from this might be good, might be useful in certain situations. Obviously, if you're not playing against anything with a lot of deployables and stuff like that, everybody's gonna take this one because it's a no-brainer, right? Now the large perks, the major perks, are fully charged secondary fire hits bounce up to 2 additional targets. Now this is okay, but secondary fire does not do that much damage, keep that in mind. But it is still something that you can keep in, I mean, you can take into account. The second one though, that's why I was pausing. The second one, barrier projective, heals allies within it for 30 health per second. This is extremely good. This is you included. I'm pretty sure it's working for you as well. So 30 health per second is a lot for people standing in bubble. So I think that this one is a no-brainer over this one. And basically, in most games, I do not think you would go for this when you have this. There will be very few situations in which you want to go for this over this. I don't know. Personally, I think that this is just great. Unless this doesn't heal you, which I really think it does. We're gonna have to see it. We're gonna have to see this, but I'm pretty sure it also heals you, because otherwise it would be a little bit sketchy and wouldn't make so much. If it doesn't heal you, then maybe the first one becomes slightly better. But if this heals you, you know, just dive in, use the bubble, being able to heal yourself where you are, pretty good. Also to help your allies, this is something great. Now moving on to Wrecking Ball, we have roll impacts deal 100% more damage to tanks, or health packs heal an additional 100 health. Now, personally, I think that the second one is what most people are going to take, because you have to keep in mind that it is for all health packs. So even if you get a small health pack, you're going to get that added 100 health. So that is very, very good, since a ball player will basically want to rely on health packs. If he wants to get most value out of his gameplay, he will be running all over the map trying to look for flanking directions, flanking locations and stuff like that. So, and picking up health packs in the process, going in and out of the fight all the time. The first one, I want to make a mention here. Roll impacts deal 100% more damage to tanks. So in the 5v5, I don't think this is that huge, but you have to keep in mind that 6v6 competitive is going to be coming this season, I think, if I'm not wrong, in mid-season or something like that, or not sure if it is from the start. Anyway, roll impacts dealing 100% more damage to tanks in 6v6, it is going to be pretty good if this is going to stay the same in 6v6 as well. I assume that the perks will try to keep the perks the same in both 5v5 and 6v6, otherwise it's going to be a lot more effort to balance and stuff like that. So I don't know. We should see, but I think that the second one is what people are going to go for. Now for the major perks on Ball, we have Pile Driver winds up longer, gaining air control and dealing up to 50% more damage. And the second one is a little bit more team-oriented, team-play-oriented. Reactivating Adaptive Shield reduces its cooldown by 1.5 seconds per ally affected, and ally health gain is increased by 33%. So honestly, I think that most people will just go for the first one. You can do a lot more damage with the first one. I think you can pretty much one-shot, almost one-shot low HP targets like Tracer and so on. Like, I think this is like pretty much what people will want to do. I mean, Pile Driver is just the core of Wrecking Balls, so yeah, this is great. This one is going to have application in certain games where you want that added, let's say, team play effect, and where you can help out your team more. This is going to be something something more defensive, something more where you can help out your team more. Like I said, yeah, I think the first one is what people are going to get, and for good reason. Now, moving on to Zarya, we have secondary fire self knockback is increased by 75%, or Graviton Surge deals up to 30% of enemy max health is damage over time. Now, the self knockback, this is pretty good. I've seen this, how it works at the distance. You actually add a distance you get from it. You can do very high jumps here. This is pretty nice. So compared to what we had before, this is great. So you can get a lot of height. But the second one, Graviton Surge deals up to 30% of, see, it says up to 30% of enemy max health is damage over time. I assume that this is based on the time that they spent in the grav. So if you grab someone from the start, they will probably take the full 30%. If not, then they, you know, get into the grav later, then they will take proportionally less. So I think that this is pretty good. In most situations, like, you don't really have issues. I mean, you're not, this can help. I mean, you don't really want to solo grab, right? Like, you don't solo grab in the sense that, like, not solo grab one opponent, but you're the only one there and you grab, and you have issues with, like, not having enough damage to kill them. So this might be able to help with that, because otherwise Zarya will probably usually use Graph when she has her team around to be able to help do that extra damage to get the kills off on the people inside the Graph ball. But with a mention here, the major perk for Zarya here, this one, Particle Cannon's energy beam pierces enemies while over 50 energy. So this one in combination with this one will be great. So you're going to be doing damage passively with this, and this, if you have over 50 energy, which most likely can end up having, if you strategize a little bit, knowing what you're doing. When you grab this cannon, the beam will be able to pierce heroes, which is going to give you a lot of damage in that graph. And not just, but I'm just talking in conjunction of this, but even outside of graph, this is going to be very useful. Piercing enemies is going to be great. Now, I wonder if this is going to pierce shields, because in that case, that's going to be a little sketch. I haven't tested. I mean, I can't test, but I can't. So I can't know, for example, if you can pierce Ryan's shield. I don't think that it can, but unless there's a shield there, it'll be able to pierce enemies. So this is pretty good. But in the context of Grav, this is going to be huge. So these two together are going to be great. Now, the second large major perk is Projected Barrier activates ally health regeneration, increase their movement speed by 50%. This is great for team playing. This is great for saving people and helping them out when they need help. So if you have targets that are, this is going to be great for like anybody who needs that extra health. You're gonna, because it also pops their health regeneration, and as you know, while you have the bubble on, no damage basically gets through to you, so you're getting healed while that bubble is on you instantly from the passive regeneration, whatever role that you are playing. So that's pretty great, and you also get the movement speed increase. So I think this is also very good. Both are great. Depends on the context, depends on the composition, your team and the enemy team. If you need to help your if you find yourself in the position where you have to help your team a lot more, then you can go for this. If you want the extra damage and added synergy with this perk to finish off people and just do really solid damage during Grav, you can go for these. So I think the options on Zarya are great. Everything is good. It just depends on the game and player choice. So now we're going to be moving on to DPS heroes. We have Ashe. Unscoped shots gain 30% increased attack speed, but deal 15% less damage, or Coach Khan pushes Ashe and enemies 20% farther. Now, the first one, I looked at this several times, and honestly, I think that this is something you really want to get when you have people diving you and you need to just fire faster. You're going to run out of ammo much faster too, so keep that in mind. So that this is pretty much the only situation in which I'd get this, where the unscope shots just fire faster. So if they're playing dive and you want to stay on Ashe, you can get this one. But then again, the same can be said really about the second perk, where the knockback, it is going to be 20% farther on you and enemies, right? So this is also good in that context. Personally, I think that the second one is better, and in most situations. I mean, this one is not that much added damage, because you get 30% increased attack speed but 15% less damage. So, and your ammo is gonna go down much faster. So honestly, I don't think this is that great. I would probably go for the second one, and I think that's what most players will end up doing. Now for the major perk, we have this: hitting 2 consecutive scoped shots on a target deals 25 extra damage and reloads 2 ammo. Pretty good, by the way. And then the second one, Dynamite, has a 40% increased detonation radius while airborne and refunds 3 ammo when thrown. Okay, so the first one I think is honestly the best in most situations, and it is extremely consistent because hitting 2 consecutive scope shots on a target is not exactly that hard as Ashe. I mean, that's what you're supposed to be doing anyway, especially if you're shooting like a tank. This is going to be like on all the time. You're going to be doing more damage. So this applies to headshots as well. So it's going to be double on headshots. This is huge, and reloads to ammo. So this is going to keep reloading on Ashe. It can feel cumbersome sometimes. Like it just doesn't feel so good, and you have to do it, and you reload bullet by bullet on Ashe. So I think the first one is great. The second one, this is good in especially against flying targets and targets that are like behind corners. Okay, so flying targets, 40% increased detonation radius. You know, you throw the dynamite, you can hit people up, you can hit a Pharah, an Echo, something like that, or a Lucio, something, you know, that's moving fast and so on. This is good for those situations. So I think this is more situational than the first one. The first one can be used pretty much in any game because it is extremely solid, and it is not that hard to basically proc. Okay, 2 consecutive scope shots is not hard to pull off. Of course, there might be misses, but you should be focused on hitting those shots, and especially players in the higher ranks are going to be taking a lot of are going to be getting a lot of value from this one. So I think that this one and this one are probably what people will want to end up taking.
Yay!
Now moving on to Bastion, we have A36 tactical grenades. Self knockback is increased by 25% and no longer damages you. Or configuration artillery grants 300 temporary over health. Now, personally, I think that the first one is more applicable than the second one. I mean, you don't really, this would be interesting to, I mean, there are a bunch of situations where I can see the second one being used. One being something like to attract the fire of enemy players. So let's say that they're diving you and you have your ult, and you can just ult and use this instead. And if they choose to stay there, they will end up playing with their lives. You can basically ult the area around yourself and they will die. And so they have a choice to make. Either they let you ult, or they back away. I mean, either they let you ult and back away, or they stay there and risk dying. But even if they back away, you might kill someone else, or even them, depends what you do with your ult. So this is pretty interesting, but it's only in the context of using your ult, so it's not something you're going to be having all the time. It's something, yeah, pretty conditional. Now the first one, the tactical grenade self knockback is increased by 25% no longer damages you. Now this is pretty good. I've seen this in action. You can get really high grounds with this one, like really high grounds is what I mean. I kind of like it. I think, and also no longer damages you, and is also very good for escaping because you can knock yourself pretty far now and you take no damage from it. So I think that in more fast-paced games, this is what people are going to end up taking. But this is also can also be very good in the context of what I said before, like if you use it like that. Now for the major perks, we have configuration assault's weapon slowly fires explosive shells instead of a rotary cannon, or press E to rapidly heal yourself. Now the first one is the old tank mode stuff. If you guys remember, like he fires those very big you know, AoE shots. He fires slowly, but they do a lot of damage and they have AoE. So we're going to be getting that back, and the self-repair is also coming back, so you can pick one or the other. Now with the explosives, the explosives are pretty fun, and honestly, unless you have like the need to tank bust shields like a Rhine shield and so on, or a Sigma shield, I think that this one is pretty good all around. The tank stuff is great, especially if you're finding a team that likes to stay together quite a lot. This is good. The self-repair is pretty self-explanatory. It's good that it comes back again, but I'm not exactly sure. I don't really know if it slows you right now in this form. It doesn't say anything about that, but it might slow you. I don't exactly know about this, so we'll have to check this out. Now moving on to Cassidy, we have Phantom Hammer shots are individually controlled and can crit for 50% more damage. Or did I refund 30% ultimate charge if it fully expires? Now, the first one is quite interesting. So, you know, Fan the Hammer in its current form just rapidly fires the entire magazine. Well, with this, you don't have to. So this is going to be quite interesting. You can even reverse the left and right mouse clicks for Cassidy, and you can have this on left click if you want. It's pretty trollish way to do it, but like, you know, I'm just saying it's an option. But yeah, it is going to be interesting. We'll see just how good this turns out to be. We'll have to see this in action in games, and then we'll really assess how good this is going to be. The crit is also 50% more, so that's interesting. Might be pretty good. I think more people are, most people are going to go for this anyway, because the second one, the refunding 30% ultimate charge if it fully expires, it's good to have, but it's not something that you incentivize. Like, of course, High Noon is like, most of the time, but a lot of the time it is used to zone people, right? So many times you will end up just holding it and not even actually firing it, and this is going to help with those situations. But it's like a perk, you don't really want the perk to incentivize that. Like, if you can get kills with it, you know, you'd probably prefer the kills. So honestly, I think that the first minor perk is what people are going to go for. Now, the major perks are like this. Critical hits with primary fire reduce the cooldown of combat roll by 3 seconds. Or Cassidy throws a second flashbang that travels farther, but both flashbangs deal 30% reduced damage. Now, honestly, both are very good. The thing is, though, the first one is quite insane, because the combat roll is not just mobility, but also reload. So shaving 3 seconds off the combat roll, which is already pretty low cooldown, is really, really good. If you can get 2 headshots out of 6 shots, you know, you basically have like no cooldown on your combat roll. So this is really, 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 really good, I think, for both quality of life and mobility, right? So this is great. Less reloading, more mobility, great. The second one, now, the thing is, you don't really, I mean, they did buff the flashbang damage to 75 damage, but the thing is, you're not really looking for damage in the flashbang in the first place. You're looking for that slow, for that snag on people, so you can finish them off, so you can get those shots in. So this is also very, very good. It's basically 2 flashbangs. So the first one goes like normal range, and the second one is the added one that goes farther. Now, this is honestly pretty good. I think that this is basically based on player preference and the kind of game that you're having and what you feel you need most. They're both great. Both are really good options. So I think that maybe this one with any of these is going to be great. Really solid options for Cassidy. I like it. I think this will be really good for the hero, for the evolution of the hero. Now we have Echo. Duplicate can also target allies, or during Duplicate, your clone's first ultimate extends Duplicate's duration by 3 seconds. Both are pretty interesting, and they have their applications. This one is really, really nice, because you basically have double the, well, in theory, of course, if there's no mirror picks, but in theory, you have double the choice of which target you want to duplicate. And of course, that's great, because you might want, you basically have that choice available to you. The thing is, the second one though, during Duplicate, the clone ultimate will extend the duration by 3 seconds. Now, 3 seconds might not seem like a lot, but it actually is quite a lot for the duration, if you actually manage to maintain your hero for the full duration. So I think they're both good. It doesn't seem like this is a lot in these minor perks, but in game you'll see that the impact from these is quite big. Now for the major perks, we have Sticky Bombs fires 50% more projectiles, but all sticky bombs deal 15% less damage, or Focusing Beam eliminations reset flight's cooldown. I think that the first one, even though you have the 15% less damage penalty, right? I think that the first one is pretty good, because the thing is, 50% more projectiles, it also matters, like if you fire more projectiles, but the window of that you're firing them in is the same, the time window, you're basically going to hit way more bombs. More bombs are going to hit the target, stick to the target way more than before. So this is great. Even though you have this penalty, I think this is worth it. So I think that the first one will be a popular choice. The second one, I like the name, by the way, Beams. Pun intended, right? Focusing beam eliminations resets flight's cooldown. So this is something like where you want to dive people. You know, you're sure you're gonna get that kill, and then you can get out of there with the flight. So that's it. You wanna go for that style of gameplay. You're confident in that, and if the game allows it, then this is probably the better choice. But this, I think, is going to be overall more popular than this one. But of course, it depends, and the player choice and the kind of game that you have. Now for Genji, we have Swift Strike resets double jump, and Dragon Blade swings gain 30% lifesteal. Now, this one is nice quality of life, great for mobility, great for doing all sorts of shenanigans. So a lot of people might want to go for this depending on the game. Also, you'll be able to get like really high up. You know, you can double jump, Swift Strike, and then double jump into the sky again. That's pretty nice, right? So you can, yeah. Or if you manage to get up on high ground, for example, you can go for a Pharah, right? If you can access a Pharah with a double jump from like off a ledge or something, you know, and just shoot her, then you can Swift Strike up to her again and then double jump again. That's pretty good. You can maintain a lot of air uptime with this. The second one, Dragon Blade swings gain 30% lifesteal. Now this is pretty good because that lifesteal is going to come in quite in handy. Depending on, I mean, whether or not you're nanoed. I mean, it doesn't really, especially if you're not nanoed, I think this is going to be great because you're going to be getting, if nobody's able to like help you out with any heals during that time, you can pretty much get some healing all by yourself. Especially if you hit more than one enemy, that's going to be pretty huge, right? So yeah, the second one is great. The first one is great too. The second one is, I think this will, yeah. Depends on the game, depends on what you're fighting, how confident you are in surviving, and how your team is pitching in and stuff like that. They're both great. I think these are both really good for Genji. Now, the major one, Swift Strike deals 25 additional damage over time when used shortly after an elimination, or regenerate 25 health per second while deflect is active. Now, personally, I think that the second one is much more useful in general, especially because you don't actually have to deflect projectiles to get this, right? So for example, let's say a Moira chasing you, or a Symmetra or a Zarya, but let's just say a Moira that's like guaranteed going to get those hits in, and before, if you deflected, then you didn't do anything and you just take full damage anyway, and you end up dying many times. Now you can keep yourself alive a little longer, which might give you enough time to get healed or get out in situations like that. So I think this one is really useful. Swift Strike deals 25 additional damage over time when used shortly after an elimination. I mean, this is just added kill potential. I like it. I think it can be useful, especially when you're blading. Like if you're blading around and stuff, and you just get Swift Strike after Swift Strike, this can bring this can help nail those kills, right, in short amount of time. I think this is good. I think this one is probably going to be better. People are going to be going for this one. This is my opinion. Okay, so now looking at Hanzo, Sonic Arrow hacks nearby health packs for 12 seconds, or Storm Arrow split into 3 new projectiles on their first ricochet and bounce 2 extra times. Now the first one, I'm not exactly sure about this, but I will say that first of all, like many people don't realize, you can hack health packs that are really far away from you. So if the enemy team is like fighting close to a health pack, or they have a health pack around that you have access to that you can see. And here's the mention, by the way, I think that this might work for health packs that you don't even see. So the Sonic Arrow goes through walls. So if, for example, there's a health pack on the other side of the wall, and you can hack it by shooting a Sonic Arrow on this side of the wall, and just because the radius of the Sonic Arrow affects it, it'll hack the health pack. I think that this is really nice. So it's really good for like hacking close health packs and larger health packs. And also you have to understand that many times a lot of Hanzo players will want to play, if possible, within the range of a health pack, you know, maybe off angling and stuff like that. If you can actually hack it and get it to respawn faster, so you can stay there more and get more uptime on that health pack, that's also going to be great. So this opens up a lot of options. Now the second one is is a bit more like a scatter arrow sort of thing. So storm arrow split into 3 new projectiles on the first ricochet and bounce 2 extra times. So this is going to be interesting. I think it can be really good. We're just gonna have to see. If you like the extra, if you want more damage, if you want more kill potential, definitely the second one. The first one is more for like more advanced gameplay, I would say. All right, so both are interesting, both are good. They have their application, depends on the game and what you want to do in that particular game. The major perks: after hitting an enemy with primary fire, gain 25% attack speed for 1 second, or wall climb accelerates your launch cooldown by 250%. Now the first one, the Dragon Fury, is pretty much a net DPS output, damage output buff, right? So basically, especially like if you're hitting tanks, I mean if you're attacking tanks, this is pretty much up all the time, right? Because you're not going to be missing those shots really. So but even for not outside of tanks, like if you go for more body shots, you're gonna get more attack speed uptime, and he basically, like, you don't have a magazine, so his reload, like his arrow is just all constantly coming. So the more shots you hit, the faster you're attacking. I mean, you're constantly attacking faster. So I think this is great all around. The second one though is great quality of life, great survivability. In the hands of a good experienced Hanzo, I think that the second one is much better. I mean, it depends on the style, depends on what you want. But yeah, the second one is going to be pretty huge. Okay, so in the hands of a good Hanzo that knows how to use that extra mobility, the second one, especially in the high ranks, is going to be really nice. All right, so next up we have Junkrat. Steel Trap's throw range is increased by 50%, or during Riptire, use shift to gain a quick boost of speed. Doing so reduces Riptire's damage by 50%. Now, honestly, I think that the first one is great quality of life and is all around great for the throw range. I think this is, you can't go wrong with the first one. Now, the second one, I mean, I've seen the speed boost, and Riptire is already pretty fast, and people will already like scatter when they hear it, and you know. So like, I'm not entirely sure if this is worth it. The trade-off is pretty big. So 50%. Basically, if you, I mean, you're not gonna go for tanks with this, but if it ends up exploding on a tank, it'll basically just tickle him compared to the full damage. So I'm not sure if you want this, I mean, to go for squishies, certain squishies that, yeah, this can definitely help you do that, and I think it's good. I think it's useful, but the trade-off, 50% less damage, you have to get closer to them, like you have to explode the tire closer, so the damage fall off isn't so drastic. Basically, player preference, I would say. Any of them are good, but yeah, the trade-off here is a little big. Now, the major ones: frag launcher's projectile speed is increased by 40%, but max ammo reduced by 1. Now this one is actually kind of good because 40% is a lot. Now this is going to, you can see that there's like a lot of trade-offs already happening here. So with Junkrat, I think they didn't want to go too overboard with Junkrat because his damage output is really insane right now in the game. The really good Junkrat players can do insane things with this hero, and yeah, so I think that's why the trade-offs are coming into play here, but still this is very good. 40% projectile speed is really good. I think it's worth it losing one of these to get 40% in certain games where you want that extra speed, especially if you with this, it's going to be easier shooting flying targets, much easier than before. So now the second one, concussive mine arms 0.5 seconds after landing, increasing damage by 50%, explosion radius by 50%, and health by 200%. I mean, this is pretty interesting. The thing that I want to know is, for example, if I let it actually, if it stays on the ground and all these things happen after 0.5 seconds, will it fling me farther? Like, will I be able to jump further away? I think so. I mean, I would assume so, because the mine is basically has a higher effect across the board, right? So that would be really cool. But you can't just like throw it and insta explode it. You have to wait that 0.5 second for it to actually land on the ground, and you can't use it in the air. But yeah, I mean, interesting. The boost is substantial, right? So if you use it like this, you get a lot more out of it. It's just, yeah, you have to actually wait for it to land, and in many situations that's not going to happen. And yeah, it depends. Maybe with some setup and stuff, you know, with setup it is much better. I think the first one is what people are going to go for most of the time. But yeah, both are interesting. A lot of downsides though for Junkrat here, and here. Okay, so keep that in mind. So next up we have Mei. Primary fire's range is increased by 30%, or Ice Wall's duration and cooldown are increased by 2 seconds. Now, honestly, I think the first one is going to be more popular because, I mean, the range on the primary fire is a little bit short, and this is great quality of life. Much easier to use, and it'll be more menacing that way. The second one, Ice Wall's duration and cooldown are increased by 2 seconds. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of this one because, first of all, I mean, the duration, enemies can shoot down parts of your wall. So the crucial ones where they need to get rid of it can still be shot down. The wall does not gain any, what's it called? It does not gain any HP. So it is just as destroyable as before. But the problem is, the downside is that the cooldown is also increased by 2 seconds. So I'm not sure if you want to get 2 seconds extra cooldown on your wall for basically the same HP on the wall, but a longer duration that, you know, they can kill anyway. So in certain situations where they can't attack the wall and it's like really cumbersome to do so, I mean, fine, but then again, why would you need that long of a wall in the first place? What is it going to achieve? That, like, what are you gonna get by from a normal full duration wall that you're gonna get from this one? Like, what wouldn't you get from a normal duration wall that you get from one that lasts 2 extra seconds? It's a little hard for me to pinpoint where the value would come from this. So I think that the primary fire range is great. I think most people are going to be going for this. Now the second one, the major perks, I mean, secondary fire hits slow enemies by 15% for 1.5 seconds, stacking up to 30%. Or Cryo Freeze slows and deals 70 damage per second to nearby enemies. I mean, both are really good, honestly. These are really good, especially the second one, especially in combination with your ult. It is absolutely crazy. 70 damage per second, so like staying full duration is like 200 damage to enemies, okay? If they stay in that range. And the range is pretty big around your ice cube, so when you turn into ice cube and you have this effect around you, it is going to do a lot of damage if those enemies are still there. If you also ult and you use this, you can get insane combos with this. I think it's great. Like while the ult is basically popping up, because I'm not exactly sure how the slow from this is going to interact with your ult, as you, like, if they can stack in some way. If this also slows on top of what the ult does, then it's going to be much harder for people to get out of the ult before they freeze up. So that's really good. This first one is also insane because this slow lasts 1.5 seconds. It's kind of a lot, and it stacks up to 30%. On tanks, it's going to be very easy to land. So if you have like a tank that wants to retreat or push in, and slow him at 30% all the time without having from a high range. I mean, without having to use your primary fire, right? This is going to be really good. This is going to be really, or running targets that you know are moving in a predictable way, and you know you can hit them very easy. Their escape is going to be much harder. Just all around very good. I would say, if you're playing poke and you're playing main kind of like a poke way, along with your team, this one is really good. If you want this added damage, mind you, this is not something you use just in combination with your ult. You can just use this standalone. If they dive, you turn into a cube. If they choose to stay there, they're going to take the damage. So they have to back up. They have to back up or suffer through the damage. Both are really good. I think Mei has really nice choices, really nice perks added for Mei. All right, now moving on to one of my favorites. Pharah can now move while Barrage is active, or convert 75 health to shields. Now this one, guys, all right, we've had Overwatch for so many years. This is, I mean, the fact that Pharah's ult was iconic because it was basically memed about. It was her ult ultimately became some sort of meme, because when you ult, you tend to die, or you just a sitting duck and so on. So it's very risky to use. You have to know how to use it. Either you use it with setup, or you have to surprise them and so on. You have to know what you're doing to pull off a successful ult. But with this is going to be much more interesting, especially in the context of using corners, guys. Okay, so hear me out. The thing is that if you manage to ult in such a way where there is a corner, okay, you position yourself properly. By the way, the movement is quite fast. It's like 50% of walk speed or something like that. It's not as slow as you would think. Yeah, so if you ult next to a corner, and they choose, and you already start to like back away, and they choose to look at you, they can't really kill you. If they chase you, they take the damage. If they stop, if they just look at you and waiting for you to come back, they're doing nothing else. So you're basically getting a lot of value that way as well. So you can debate people and stuff like this, or just basically keep yourself alive, or yeah, withdraw when you have to. It's just opens up so much more potential for using Pharah ult, which you never had before in all these years of Overwatch. This is great. I really like this change. The second one converts 75 health to shields. Now this is something, especially if you don't have a Mercy or healers that can pay attention to you or easily heal you, like you have a Lucio and a Moira, say, and you're flying, you still want to play Pharah, playing a bit in the sky. This is really nice for poking from corners and just shooting shots. You know, if you take some damage, back up a little bit, get the shields to recharge real quick, back in, go back in and spam some shots and so on. So this is interesting for that kind of gameplay. Personally, I think that the first one is something that most people will take. This is also really nice, but it's I don't know, a lot of people don't really want to play Pharah in situations, I mean, with supports where they can't really get heals, you know, especially if they don't have a Mercy, and if they don't have supports that can actively heal them, then you have to pretty much play a lot more grounded. So I would say that the first one is what people are going to go for, myself included. Now, the major perks, Concussive Blast, knockback is inverted to a pull-in. This is very interesting, right? And Jet Dash grants 50% fuel, and maximum overfuel is increased by 100%. So this is going to be really, I'm going to talk about this one real quick first, because this is going to be nice, because if you, for example, if the maximum overfuel is increased by 100%, right, you can, if you shift jump all the way up in the sky, right, and you get that extra fuel, and you also use Jet Dash, or do the other way around, you know, you get Jet Dash, you just Jet Dash first, and then you fly up. Jet Dash is going to be ready relatively soon, and you'll be able to use it again. Now, this combination of using these extra fuel generating abilities, this will bring back a lot of airtime for Pharah. You will be able to stay airborne much longer than you can right now. This is great. I like this. It adds something, it adds a little bit of the old Pharah flying potential back into the game, so I like this. Now this one is really interesting. I left it for last. So the blast knockback is converted to a pull-in. Now mind you, you can also pull yourself, okay? So keep this in mind. So you know how like right now you have to use the look down or look behind to use the implosion and boost yourself forward. Well, you're not gonna have to do that anymore, because you'll be able to just look slightly forward and pull yourself in. That's very interesting. This needs a bit of testing. Obviously, I don't have access on this build of the game to test this, but I would like to know how much less, or if it's somehow equal, which I doubt. I think it's less though. What is the distance that you can pull yourself compared to the distance where you can boost yourself without using this perk, right? So that's going to be really interesting to see. But of course, when it comes to using it on enemies, now you can do a lot of shenanigans with this stuff. You can pull enemies in to use your ult and stuff like this. You can pull enemies for Zarya to use her ult and then you ult and stuff like this. Like there's so many ways of using this. Basically just grouping enemies together or just pulling them off. I think you can still pull them off the map if you shoot the concussion implosion properly. I'm not exactly sure, we'll have to see. But the options that you get from these new perks added Pharah are just great. Okay, so I'm a Pharah player, you guys know that. I mean, when I play DPS, I love to play Pharah. This is just awesome. I can't wait to see this in action. I think so do you.
Yay!
All right, so next up we have Reaper. Shadow Step reloads self-fire shotguns and has 25% increased range, or collect soul glows from dead enemies to restore 50 health. Now, this one is kind of nice quality of life, especially because you don't have to, like, if you fire some shots and you want to TP somewhere, you won't have to wait for that time to reload anymore. You can just TP and the reload will be done. Also, but the main thing is that you have 25% increased range. Now this is pretty big because this will allow you to teleport insane ranges. Okay, it's already pretty long right now, but with this is going to allow really long range teleports, so it's going to make Reaper much better at flanking and so on. Now, the second one, collect soul globes from dead enemies to restore 50 health. I mean, this is okay, especially in context with your ult. I think that's where it shines, because if you get a kill, you get that 50 health, and if you're getting focus fired, you know, that 50 health is going to be a lot and all. This is also really great in conjunction with this one. I'm going to talk about this one first, right? So leaving Wraith form grants 40% additional lifesteal for 3 seconds. So let's say you Wraith form in to the enemy team, either by jumping in or coming in, you know, they don't see you. The 40% additional lifesteal for 3 seconds, you know, is going to be insane, especially if you ult, right? So if you ult and you also have this perk, I think you're going to be a lot harder to kill, okay? So the 40% lifesteal alone is great, but if you also get like a target, if you get a kill, then these together are going to be very strong. So yeah, these two really nice together, I think. Now the second major perk, use the right mouse button to fire a volley with long range accuracy from both fire shotguns. Now this ability has like 6-second cooldown or so, but it is better than you think. It does quite a lot of range. It does quite a lot of damage at range. It's good for killing running targets, you know, straggler stuff like this, and it's not something that many people will expect, like coming from a Reaper, you know, like you see them, they're backing up, you know, they have like 50% HP, there's only a Reaper left, you know, so they try to get out, they won't be able to get out, you know, you'll be able to actually kill them. It's also good for, like, you know, shooting targets. Basically you can't do anything, you can't like get to that position to shoot someone, you can still get some value and some ult charge by shooting them, you know. You have this option right now. It is not overpowered or anything like that in any way, but it's something that Reaper had no access to before, and this is honestly a welcome addition. I think I don't know if you guys have heard, by the way, they've canceled the Reaper rework, so yeah, I think that it is part of that of the stuff that they had intended for him is coming to him in the form of these perks. So next up we have Sojourn. Maximum ammo increased by 15, or Railgun's maximum energy is increased by 50 while overclock is active. Now this one is all around great. Less reloading, much better. I mean, you're gonna get some more ult generation overall, I think, because you're reloading less frequently in certain situations. So yeah. The second one, a Railgun's maximum energy increased by 50 while overclock is active. Now this is pretty good, and I'm not entirely sure, but I think this opens up the ability to headshot a target, headshot kill maybe a target that has 300 HP. I'm not entirely sure. You need to test that still. This is quite a lot of damage boost. The problem is that generally, I mean, if you're going to wait for that extra 50 energy charge during overclock, technically you're going to be shooting less overall railgun shots, because it's going to take extra time to recharge that extra 50 energy per shot. But overall, you have much more damage output, and if you don't get the headshot, I mean, you could, if you wait for that extra 50 energy, you won't have to maybe focus on those headshots so much, depending on the HP of the enemy targets. You could just go for body shots. So this is going to make it a little bit more forgiving if you don't want to go for those headshots. Probably a lot of people in the lower ranks will make good use of this one, because if their aim is not so good. So yeah, but both are good. Both are good options. On the major perks, we have Power Slide gives an additional charge and its jump height shifts to lateral movement. Or Disruptor Shot can stick to enemies and generates railgun energy when dealing damage. Now, they've tried, I mean, they've had this before, but then they removed it, added, and then they removed it. I guess it was in the works, all this stuff was still in the works, and they decided to bring it back with the addition of perks. So yeah, the thing is this can I mean, the stick part wasn't in the previous change, but the generation of railgun energy was. But the additional thing with this perk is that it can stick to enemies. Okay, so you will be getting a lot of damage from that. Like, just do a test yourself, stand in the disruptor area, in disruptor AoE, and see how much damage you take. It's a lot of damage. Not to mention that it has an AoE, so I'm not sure if it turns into an AoE around you as well, like close allies will, if they stick close to you, they'll also be taking damage for it. If it is like that, then it's just very good. I mean, on top of it doing guaranteed damage on your target, it is going to do additional damage to targets around it, so that is very, very good. Now this one opens up, the first major perk opens up a pretty interesting I mean, interesting options in the sense that you can dive in and out now because you have 2 charges basically, right? And the charge cooldown is very low. I mean, the generate is like 6 or 7 seconds on the power slide. So yeah, you can have darting in and out, playing more risky because you can dive in and still dive out with a power slide, and also like opens the possibility of like either diving in super deep, taking an off angle, or diving out. I mean, running away, getting out very far away using 2 successive power slides. So both are great. This is very good in my opinion, though. The added damage from this, because this is guaranteed damage unless it gets Suzu'd or something. This does full damage to the target it sticks to, so this is great. And this is great for mobility. Great perks overall for Sojourn. I think everything is good here. I don't think anything is also feels a bit overtuned, honestly. Like, I think they went a bit overboard on Sojourn, but we'll have to see how it pans out in game. Moving on to Soldier 76, we have Helix rockets reload 15 ammo if they damage an enemy, or biotic field's healing is increased by 100% on critical health allies. Now, this one is pretty self-explanatory. Great quality of life, less reloading overall. Helix rockets, if they just need to damage, you don't need a direct hit, so even just slight AoE damaging an enemy by shooting it at the ground will proc this, so this is nice to have. The second one, though, I'm pretty sure this also works on you, so yeah, you can, I mean, contesting an area and standing in your own biotic field is going to give you way less healing if you drop down. If there's no, like, if there's nothing that can really burst you down, you can, and you're just taking sustained damage, you can stay in your biotic field and get a lot of extra healing, and so can your allies. So I think this is pretty good. Depends really. I think both have their uses, so it depends on the kind of game you have and player preference. Really, both are pretty useful. Now for the major perks, we have sprint speed increased by 20% and reload can be performed while sprint is active. Now this is great quality of life, and making sprint better at the same time as well. So sprint is faster, it's already pretty fast. Making it faster is going to make it even better. And the thing is, Soldier, regardless, Soldier always felt a little bit clunky to me because of this aspect. So you could not reload when sprinting. So you have that annoying situation where you have to reload, but you cannot sprint, you know? So you're basically stuck, you're slowed down, you cannot move. If you have to reload, you can't move fast. Now you will be able to move fast, and not just fast, but faster by 20%. I think this is great. I think this will make Soldier feel so much better. I think he needed this. Now the second one, we have biotic field can be used as a stim pack, increasing attack speed and reload speed by 30% while being unhealable for 4 seconds. I've seen this, how it plays out. There's a little bit of a, like, you're sticking yourself with that with the stim packs. It takes like 0.5 seconds to activate, I think, and I think the cooldown starts when you use it, so you have less than I'm not sure if you have full 4 seconds after you stick yourself. I need to take a look at that, but the idea is that this is really, I mean, imagine this ability used in conjunction with a nano from Ana and the Kitsune from Kiriko, and also adding this on top. It's going to be absolutely crazy, absolutely crazy. So yeah, you're unhealable, but basically, like, it's just basically imagine you have an anti-nade from Ana, right? I wonder if you turn purple. I don't think you do. I think I've seen it. I don't think you turn purple. But anyway, or you, I don't know what the enemy will see. We'll have to see about that. But anyway, basically you're going to be unhealable. It doesn't change that. So yeah, this, honestly, I think I prefer the first one. This is a little, like, if you have a lot of space in the game and nobody's diving you, or you can just do a lot of damage and you're not really getting poked at and stuff like this, I think this can work. But you're also basically forsaking the heal from the biotic field, right? Completely. So I'm not sure if this is really worth it. I think this is kind of like pushing it a little bit. We'll have to see. Maybe this gets adjusted. I think the first one is what people might opt for in general over the second one. So yeah, I think this one is going to be the one people take. Next up, we have Sombra. Virus cooldown reduced by 3 seconds when an enemy affected by virus is eliminated. Now this sounds pretty good because it kind of allows you to chain virus uses if you get an elimination. because Virus is on a 6-second cooldown, and so you use it, the cooldown starts running, 2-3 seconds to maybe kill the target, and I mean, then you get 3 seconds deducted, it's basically ready again. So pretty nice for daisy chaining Virus onto more targets. Now the second minor perk, teleporting with Translocator while its critical health initiates passive health regeneration. This is pretty nice quality of life for Sombra, and just generally for uptime, because you know, you're going to be in positions many times where you can't get healed, or you need to, I mean, there isn't a health pack nearby, so might be good. But the thing is, it's critical health, so it is not teleporting with Translocator whenever. You have to be at critical health, and like, not many people would necessarily risk, depends on the situation, getting into critical health before they translocate. I mean, it's a bit niche, not too much, but yeah, there is this mention here, well, the critical health, so that's the only time it's going to initiate. So yeah, pretty useful though. I think it is in many cases it will basically proc, so I think this is a good option to have as well for survivability and just a bit more uptime for Sombra's HP. Now the major perks, hack can be used on allies to restore 100 health over 2 seconds. Now this is pretty good, because Sombra's, you know, kind of invisible, and you can just basically help out people. You're moving pretty fast. You can help out people who would otherwise die or are stuck in a bad position or something like that. Especially if you have a team that plays really well together, like this, communication and stuff like this. This can change the details of a fight many times. It just be that added extra difference, especially if you're off angling with someone else. Like if you're going together with a Moira or a Tracer and stuff like that, and something goes wrong, being able to heal someone else is pretty good. But yeah, the second one is also hack related. Hack's silence duration is increased by 100%, but its range is decreased by 30%. Now you would say that this range decreased by 30% is a big downside, but I don't think it's that much. 30%, it's not even a third, it's just below a third. But the silence duration increase is basically double. This is pretty big. In many situations, this will lead to a sure kill, okay? Especially for heroes that do not have escape abilities, okay? This is going to be pretty big, and I think that this change, I'm not sure, it might need some tuning. We'll have to see how it plays out, but double on just a normal hack, so EMP's silence is pretty long, and the hack isn't, but with this one, the hack will also have a pretty long duration. So we'll have to see how this plays out. Overall, interesting things coming to Sombra. I wouldn't say anything is really, really out of tune here. This one, a little bit, we'll have to see how it plays out, but I don't think it's too bad in this form. So next up we have Symmetra, and oh boy, do we have a bunch to talk about here. So the first minor perk, Sentry Turret gains an additional charge, or Teleporter's range is increased by 50%. I mean, I don't want to be like the voice of dissent here, but like, I don't think anybody will really take this over this, especially in the higher ranks. This is huge. 50% teleport range is absolutely off the charts, guys. Okay, so by the way, this perk here, Sentry Turret gaining an additional charge, it doesn't make charges come faster. You can just store one additional charge. That's about it. Whereas this, in conjunction with a major perk I'm going to show you in a moment, is going to be quite breathtaking. Let's use that word. So let's go to the major perks. Primary Fire's range increases by 15% with each additional charge level. Okay, so this one is kind of nice quality of life mostly, but not just quality of life. It gives you the option to, like, targets who are trying to run away or you backing up is now possible with the usage of Primary Fire. Before you just couldn't. Okay, so the beam of Symmetra right now is going to be really, really strong, you know, especially against, like, I think heroes like Reinhardt that have a shield. So yeah, I don't know about this one. It's like, it's quality of life, but it also makes her way easier to play and much more of a threat than before at medium ranges and not just close ranges. Now mind you, you still have to start and charge up the beam in order to benefit from this. So you still have to start up close, but then you can back up, or if the target is trying to run away, you can chase them down easier. So you don't get this right at the start. You have to actually get the beam to charge. Now the second one, and here's the interesting bit, right? Symmetra regenerates 20 shields per second while 10 meters of her teleporter, okay? Within 10 meters. Now combined with this one, okay, we are going to get pretty crazy Symmetra plays. Because teleporter, as you know, has two components. You know, there's one in and the other out, and vice versa. But the thing is, there are basically two teleporters, right? And you get this regen on both. So you can go in, have a small heal running on you there, and go out, keep getting healed all the time, go in, out, and with this teleporter range, I think that Symmetra is going to be Omega meta coming in season 15. It is going to be, I think, one of the best DPS heroes. I mean, it already is extremely, what's it called? Like, it has really good applications, especially in high MMR play. The teleporter plays are really strong, and they open up like a dimension that not many heroes can use. Actually, nobody can really do what she does in terms of this, you know, popping in and out in different places. So yeah, we're gonna have to see. I think we need to pay close attention to Symmetra, because together I think these are S tier perks. These two together are just going to be insane. So pay attention to Symmetra, and I think, of course, balance passes will probably follow soon onto stuff like this, and with a lot of perks, of course. But this one I think is going to be one of the first address, because to me it feels just too strong left in this state. But I know that there's a lot of people there who are looking forward to this, myself included. I want to try this. I want to see how this feels. I think it'll be fun. But again, I don't think it'll last too long in this form.
Yay!
Next one, we have none other than Torbjorn. Forge Hammer can restore armor health to allies. Turret repairs health is increased by 25%. Or activating Overload fully refills Rivet Gun's ammo. Now this one already partially refills the ammo, but now it's going to do so fully. So yeah, nice quality of life. It is pretty nice to have. The first one, the Forge Hammer can restore armor health to allies. The repair is going to be faster on the turret, so I'm not sure though. This one, armor health to allies, like, you're going to go around poking Orisa and you're going to be able to recharge her armor or other tanks and stuff like this. Like, this feels a little bit funny. I'm not sure what to think about this one, but yeah, this is going to speed up the repairs, and you can see here that by itself this wouldn't be too much, but look at this major perk over here. Overload upgrades your turret for 5 seconds, increasing its health and damage. Now mind you, I've seen the damage boost, and the damage increase is quite high. Keep this in mind. It does a lot of damage, and it also increases the health. So if you like to play with your turret a lot, you'll want to be annoying. Like, taking this and this together, your turret's gonna be, I don't know if twice as hard to kill, but close to twice as hard to kill, I think, than it is right now. So that's really strong from something that is already very annoying and pretty annoying and hard to kill. Now the second major perk, deployed turret's throw range is increased by 50%, and it can now attach to walls and ceilings. So guys, this is going to be really good, because you can create off angles with a turret that will be extremely hard to counter, and that will really hinder an enemy team. So imagine, I don't know how to describe this to you guys, but imagine that you are looking at a doorway, right, where the enemies are going to come from, and then above this doorway there's like a ceiling, of course, somewhere, right? Could be a higher ceiling. If you put a turret up there, okay, above them, then they cannot really walk in through the door and really deal with you without taking care of the turret. Or they can do that, but the turret's going to be firing for free at them. And yeah, this is a little bit annoying, because the turret is not exactly easy to kill, and you have to be able to see it to kill it. And if it's straight above a door up on the ceiling, it's going to be very hard for you to get to that turret. So you can create extremely strong off angles, in my opinion, with this sort of turret placement. And I think Torbjorn is going to be a lot of fun to play in the coming season. So all these perks are really interesting, and I think the Turret Man is just going to create a lot of sad people. Let's just put it like that. Of course, not so much on his team, but the other team is going to feel the full brunt of all these changes. Moving now to Tracer, health packs restore 1 blink charge, or pulse bombs radius increased by 50%. Now, honestly, this one I don't think is as big as this one. I think that this one is pretty good, and I'm not entirely sure, but I think that 50% is a lot. Now I don't think it affects the stock radius. It is just the radius of the explosion, but that's still also pretty large, because moving away from it now is going to be harder. You're going to still take damage if you don't move really fast. You know, the explosion radius is going to be bigger, so I think this is pretty good. This is also pretty nice to have. Depends on the game, depends on the map, the rhythm of the game. Both are good. I think this is more reliable. You'll have more reliable results from Pulse Bomb, and this one is going to basically just help you move around more and give you a little bit more blink leeway. Now the big perks are Recall restores all blink charges. Recall grant 50 over health. It decays over time. No, the way they spelled this is a little strange. Recall grant 50 over health, it decays, or recall grants. Yeah, I guess it's a typo here. Anyway, recall restores all blink charges. This one is really good, period. Okay? Period. You can use, I mean, I don't know. If you're like an experienced tracer, you almost never run out of blinks with this one, especially if you take this one as well. So these together are gonna be pretty crazy. Okay? I don't know. I think this might be a little bit too strong. Maybe make it restore 2 charges instead, or something like. I don't know, or 1 charge. I don't really know exactly. This feels a little bit too much for Tracer, but yeah, we're gonna have to see. This one, recall grants 50 over health, decays over time. I don't really see many people taking this one over the first one. I really don't. It is just the first one. It is just, there's so much value in it. It just feels like this one, they didn't know what to add here, and it just gave it this compared to the first one. These are my thoughts. If you feel differently, sure, but I honestly don't know who's gonna pass up full blink charges on a recall. So now for Venture. While underground, Venture can sense enemies within 25 meters. It doesn't say anything about your team seeing what you're seeing, so I think it's just for you, but still, this is really good. And 25 meters is a lot. So this is gonna give you pretty good information, and you can basically see you have like some sort of small infra sites around you. It's pretty good, honestly. While Tectonic Shock is active, cooldowns refresh 300% faster. I mean, your drill dash, right, is gonna be, you're gonna be able to use it several times during that, because using the, going underground doesn't make that much sense unless you're about to die. And because it's gonna stop you being able to like use the old charges. But I mean, I think the first one is better. I think the first one is all around better, just better value, much better value. So yeah, the first one, guys, I think this one is going to be very popular. Now for the major perks, smart excavators range increased by 25%. This is pretty huge. This is pretty huge, because one of the downsides is with Venture is that you don't have really long range. This is going to make it quite good compared to what it is right now. You'll be able to get ult charge from farther away. You'll be able to poke from further away, get kills from further away, chase enemies down from further away. I mean, kill people who are trying to run further away, and so on. I think this is great. Now this one, covering in dirt, dealing damage with Clobber grants up to 30 explorers resolve shields. I mean, this is pretty good in the sense of like you are going to be able to daisy chain more abilities. Like, you have the other 2, but with this one you have 3, so you're gonna have basically more shield generation, more uptime. Not to mention that melee in and of itself is a little bit more spammable. Not so much on Venture, because she has like that wind down time. It's like right, it's not like it's spammable. It's a little bit slower to use, I mean, in succession compared to other quick melees, but I think yeah, this is pretty good. But honestly, I don't know how many people take this over this one. It would have to be a game in which you really want those extra shields. Yeah, but this is just overall, but I think this is a no-brainer. People will just go for this one. This is great. All right, now moving on to everyone's favorite hero, of course, wink wink. Widowmaker. Scope shots cost 3 ammo instead of 5. Or scope shots charge 50% faster during infrasight. I mean, we already know what people are going to take, right? I mean, this is insane. I mean, sometimes, imagine you're in a position where you can deal a lot of damage to enemies and you just want to fire faster. You don't really care so much about seeing them, so to speak, you know, seeing through walls and stuff like this. You just want to be able to dish out more damage because you can. I mean, you could. So you pop this, you pop your ult, not necessarily to see people through walls, to just be able to shoot an insane amount of shots in a short amount of time. So I think this is great. This one is like... I honestly don't know how many people will take that over this one. It also depends on the map, I guess, and the pacing of the game a little bit. But honestly, this one is a no-brainer to me. Okay, because you can use infrasights in more ways than one. And if it's basically like power up on demand. You can either shoot them through walls. I mean, you can either see people through walls and wait for those shots, or just basically be able to gun people down. Your DPS goes up by 50% theoretically, you know, if you have this perk. Now, for the major perks, we have scope shot hits reduce grappling hooks cooldown by up to 4 seconds, or venom mine gains 50% increased damage and a second charge, enabling 2 active mines at a time. I mean, it's nice to have 2 mines. Does a bit more damage. I mean, 50% more damage. Not a bit, it's quite a bit, but like, the mine itself doesn't deal that much damage anyway. But with this, yeah, it's a little bit more threatening. You have 2 mines. You can use one further away, one for defense, one for like more offense. I don't know exactly. I think that the added mobility from this is really good because grappling hook has big cooldown. This allows you to reposition and get away, right, much faster. So I think this increases your mobility and your ability to, like, yeah. I think that this one is what most people will go for, because repositioning or getting away as Widow is a big thing. It's a core of what you need to do. So I think this one will be way more popular. Okay, I like the fact that they didn't go too overboard with Widow, because, you know, she's already in a place where not many people are okay with having her in the game. But yeah, except for this one, you know, her DPS basically just goes up using this one. But yeah, other than that, I think it's okay. All right, we'll just have to see how it pans out in game. All right, guys, now we got to the support category. We're going to start off with Ana. Enemies waking up from sleep dart are slowed for 2 seconds, or after exploding bad, a grenade bounces and explodes again for 50 damage and healing. Okay, so this one, the first one, I mean, honestly, sleep dart, like if you get a sleep off, you know, technically, unless it's a tank, you know, they're pretty much dead anyway, so I don't think that the slow is that important for that. But this is a big but, if that enemy is a tank and particularly a ball or a Doomfist, this might be quite annoying, especially ball. This might be quite annoying. Okay, being slept and then slowed for 2 seconds. I'm not sure what the slow is. 30%, 50%, I'm not sure. But for ball, this is big. Other than that, I don't think it's that much value. I think that the second one is pretty much a no-brainer. First of all, it makes the nade you're able to use the nade much easier and get a guaranteed hit. And on top of that, like, you know, when there's fights going on and your team is like sort of like in front of you or in a certain position and you want to nade there, right? But you also kind of want to try and nade the enemy team. It's a little hard to hit both. I mean, you have to be careful with how you aim and where it hits and stuff like that. But with this is pretty much guaranteed. Like, you're gonna get the friendly effect, the friendly healing effect on your team, and the negative anti-healing on the enemy team. Because the second one is not so much, like, normally the nade is 75 damage, right? And this one is just 50. So it's a little less, but it doesn't really matter because it's going to apply the anti-nade effect to the enemy team, right? So they will be hit by basically the anti, and your team will get the healing from the first one. So I think this is pretty huge. I mean, this is pretty much a no-brainer. Honestly, unless you're playing like against a ball or something like that and you want more time to be able to kill him, I think that this is the way to go, right? This is just gonna be so popular. Okay, now for the major ones. Biotic Rifle can crit enemies, or using Nano Boost also casts it on Ana. Alright, now we got to the part of this analysis, I mean this, all the perks that we're doing here, and I will just straight up say that this is probably one of the strongest, if not the strongest thing in this whole bunch of perks, okay? This is basically insane. Mind you, this Nano Boost. So first of all, let's look at it this way. Ana cannot nano herself right now. It is impossible, right? So first of all, they gave Ana the possibility to nano herself, which I think is fine because I mean, why not? You know, you can nano for other people, you can't nano yourself. Feels a little bit odd, you know. So let her nano herself. But the problem is here is that you have a fully powered 100% nano, right, on someone else as well. So think of it this way: you can use this nano on someone because you want to nano that someone, and you also get it and you do more damage, take less damage, right? Or you're gonna die or something like that, and you need to like protect yourself, and you really feel it's important for you to live in this particular situation, and you want to nano yourself, so you just nano anybody, whoever you want, and you get the nano. And of course they will get it as well. Now having two nanos on the battlefield at the same time, I think is borderline broken, and I don't want to say broken, but I think this is pretty much where we're going. Now, in my opinion, I don't want to get into huge balance discussions in this particular video, but I think Ana is a pretty good place, and her utility is insane. Having two nano boost is just basically taking it completely off the charts. So I think that this is no brainer. People will want this because it is so awesome. Like, you have it gives you so many opportunities to use the nano in different ways, like either for helping someone and you doing more damage, or saving yourself and also someone else being able to do and take more damage. This is just absolutely awesome. It's probably the best perk in the whole game as it stands right now before release. Now the first one, the Biotic Rifle can crit enemies. This is also very strong for people who have very good aim, especially since Ana has a bigger projectile, right? So it is going to be pretty nice to get headshots, and you might be able to kill a few widows with this one, not gonna lie. And yeah, that's gonna be fun as well. But honestly, except for people who just want to snipe a lot and do damage that way, the second one is the way to go. And yeah, the value is insane from the second one. This is definitely where the second one is going to be all over. You're gonna see Ana, you're gonna see two nanos every game. I promise you that, if it stays like this.
Yay!
Okay, so for Baptiste, Immortality Field restores 80 health to nearby allies and 40 health to Baptiste when destroyed. This is really good. This is free value, basically. Because you want to, like, imagine you're shooting someone, you can't kill them, you want to kill the field, and they're also low, but you just kill the field, you still can't kill them because the field's gonna heal them. And 40 health to Baptiste when destroyed. I wonder if these two stack, guys. This one and this one, right? Like, say you cast Immortality Field next to you, it gets destroyed. Do you get the 80 plus the 40? Because if so, that's really, 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 really good. But yeah, overall, this is, I don't know. I don't know if Immortality Field needed a buff. Especially not this kind of buff. It's already annoying to deal with, and you know, you should be rewarded for killing it. Like, if you don't kill it, you know, they don't die. If you kill it, they still don't die. Really, it's kind of, I don't know where. Yeah, anyway, then the second one, after placing amplification matrix, your shoulder turret periodically fires up to 12 shots at allies, each restoring 25 health. I've seen this on streams. This is pretty good. It fires pretty fast. It's like chew, 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 like that. That's the pacing. It's really fast. Yeah, each restoring 25 health. It's actually pretty good. I like it. I think it's nice, but this one is pretty much no-brainer. I think people are gonna go with this one, honestly, because this one you can use it way more times. This one, first of all, you have to use your ult. This one you don't have to use your ult. I know it's a higher cooldown ability, but it's not like your ult. You know, nowhere close to your ult. So I think this is the way to go. Now for the major perks, regenerative burst grants Baptiste 20% attack speed for 4 seconds, but no longer instantly heals. Now, I don't know how to feel about this. It feels a little bit trollish. Like, it's okay if you want to be a DPS BAP, which is basically stays in the back, doesn't need that healing. I mean, yeah, but no longer instantly heals. I'm not sure. The wording here is a bit ambiguous. We'll have to see instantly heals. I assume instantly heals only Bap. Because if you lose the instant heal on everybody, that's kind of a big loss. 20% attack speed for you, but nobody else gets instant heal anymore. That's kind of crappy. So I don't know how I feel about that one. Yeah. Let's see here. While airborne from Exo Boots. Oh, Exo Boots. They put my name in the game. Use space. It was already there, right? You already had them. Haha. But anyway. Nice joke, Exo. So while airborne from Exo Boots, use space to dash horizontally. I've seen this on streams. It's pretty nice because it gives you a unpredictable movement that you can have while you're in the air, right? So before that, for example, if you jump up high, you know, the movement is pretty predictable. You know, you can stall at a certain point and it's easier to shoot at you in those moments and stuff like that. With this one, you can kind of break that, you know, be a bit more unpredictable. Not to mention you can get interesting positioning going on during fights. So I think this is great. I like this one. This one, a little bit, yeah. I think, yeah, I don't know what they were thinking with this one. It feels a little strange to me. Moving on to Brigitte here. Shield Bash restores 100 health to barrier shield when it hits an enemy. Pretty nice, honestly. You can brawl a little longer with this as well, you know. Shield Bash, very low cooldown. You can just, you know, have this added 100 health is going to keep you you're going to be able to stay in the fight a little bit longer, because normally you can't recharge your shield, you know, unless you stop using it altogether. But with this, you can actually get some active regeneration. I mean, refill is not really a regen, it's more like a refill, instant 100 to your shield. So this is pretty nice. I like this one. Inspire lasts 3 seconds longer when activated by whip shot. Pretty good. What can I say? Longer Inspire for the win. And it's also pretty easy to activate this, especially using Whip Shot against tanks. So it's not like it's really hard to activate Inspire with Whip Shot most of the time. But yeah, nice quality of life, and yeah, just generally nice change. Let's see the major perks. Repair packs instantly heal an additional health to critical health allies. It's mistyped here. It's 35 health, I think it was. So it's pretty good, but they have to be critical health allies, right? So they have to be really low. I like it, but the second one is probably what I would go for. Whip shots, knockback, and slam enemies into walls, dealing 50 extra damage. Now the thing is, Brig has pretty nice combos, right? If you use the shield bash and the whip shot and combined with a normal attack, right? You can do a lot of damage, right? So I think I would honestly go for this one. You can probably pick off enemies really quick. They won't even realize what happened to them. If they're not full HP and, you know, you can use your combo on them, you can easily get kills. So honestly, I would go for this instead of this one. Moving on to Illari, we have Healing Pylon builds 300% faster and its cooldown is reduced by 1.5 seconds. I mean, 300% faster. I mean, it's basically instant, right? That's what it means. And cooldown reduced by 1.5 seconds. Okay, quality of life, decent. Second one, Illari's flight time during captive stun is increased by 3 seconds and her flight speed is increased by 20%. I think that this one is more interesting. I think that this is what people will want to do because it, first of all, it allows you to set up your ult better. You can get better positioning on ult, and you can also spend more time flying and shooting from the air. So this looks like a better tool to me than this one. I mean, sure, you have less cooldown and it's faster deployed. But I'm not sure if this trumps this. Honestly, I think that the second one is better. Now for the major perks, we have fully charged solar rifle hits grant 12.5% of your maximum solar energy, overfilling up to 50%. I've seen how this works. This is very cool, very cool to have, and it's very what's it called? It optimizes your damage and healing cycles much better. So first of all, you can heal more, and you can alternate between heal and damage way more. Your beam will have more uptime, and it just feels good. You have a better flow of gameplay, you know. So I think that this one is really good. I think this is what people are going to go for, because the second one is just outburst ignites enemies, dealing an additional 70 damage over 3 seconds. Okay, so yes, you will deal some damage with your with your movement ability, right? But I do not think that it compares to this one. This one is very, very good in all situations. You can just basically heal more, and you have this feeling, you know, like sort of like Moira, where you can just heal DPS, and just constantly be switching between the two. Before this perk, you know, you would run out of heals on your beam pretty fast. You know, you'd have to rely on your pylon. This one makes you a bit better, what's it called, sustained healer, but without sacrificing your damage. You still have to do damage to get this. So I think this is great. I think this is awesome. I think people are going to go for maybe this one and this one. This is what's going to be popular in my opinion. Okay, next up we have Illari. So pulsar torpedoes lock onto allies 35% faster, or while using glide boost, passing through hyper ring pushes you forward. Now, honestly, this one is decent quality of life. It's pretty good to heal people faster when you need to. But the second one, honestly, is where most of the value comes from, I think, because this is quite a big push, quite a big nudge. So when you have to get away, you know, sometimes, I mean, glide boost gives you that extra movement speed, but many times it won't be enough for you to actually get away, right? You'll still be able to get killed until you get enough distance, stuff like this. But with this one, you know, you will be able to get that instant boost, distance coverage, right, that you want, and still be able to move very fast. So I think that this one is pretty good for survivability, and this one is more for like better healing ability for your team. Now, the major perks are Medi Blaster can crit enemies, or activating glide boost resets double jump. Now, this thing, Medi Blaster can crit enemies, is something that, in my opinion, well, the thing is, she was designed, it's a longer discussion here, the way she was designed was to be more utility than damage, or heals, like raw damage, offensive damage, right, offensive capability, via auto attacks, not auto attacks, primary fire, right? Medi Blaster can crit enemies, though. This is going to be pretty good, especially if it is double damage, okay? So you can actually do pretty decent damage with your weapon now that you couldn't do before. This, I think a lot of people will want this. There's a lot of Junos out there who want to be able to do more damage. Now, the second one, activating glide boost, resets double jump. This is interesting because you can do something like, you can double jump, glide boost, and then double jump again. So you can get nice vertical distance going here. You can get height that you wouldn't otherwise get before. And I'm sure there's maybe even some more applications to this. But you have to use glide boost in order to benefit from this. But yeah, getting away will be pretty interesting with this, because, for example, you want to go on a high ground real quick when someone's chasing you. You can move faster, but with this you can double jump, move fast, and then double jump again and get to a high ground somewhere, and they just can't chase you because you went up and you're moving fast as well. So this is kind of nice. But honestly, I think that the extra damage provided by this and all get along, and mind you, this will also help you charge your ult faster, okay? Keep this in mind. So I think the first one is going to be much more popular than the second one. For Kiriko, we have healing of Fuda projectile speed is increased by 50% when seeking critical health allies, or kunai hits launch 2 healing of Fuda to an ally in front of you. Now, honestly, this first one is something that, in my opinion, maybe should have been put into her kit by default, because it really feels bad to just try and heal people and they die because the projectiles from the heals are just so slow. Okay, but at least we have this option now, so I welcome it. All right, we can get this now, and there'll be less deaths occurring from those healing projectiles not reaching. But the second one, honestly, kunai hits launch through healing of Fuda to an ally in front of you. So hits, right? They don't have to be crits, they don't have to be headshots, okay? So just body shots. This is really, really nice. I've seen it, how it works, and they are pretty much a seeking, like they don't miss. They are like locked, from what I could tell. They won't miss those people, so it's not just like dumb fires, right? Those Fuda are like the yellow kind, they chase the target. Now the thing is, this will, imagine how this is in Kitsune, right? So you can pretty much spam damage if you can get body shots. You don't necessarily have to go for the headshots necessarily, because those body shots will proc this healing of Fuda, right? And when your Kitsune is up, you're going to shoot really fast. So you're going to be pretty much healing almost as much as you are normally to the targets in front of you if you use this during the ult. So I think this one is pretty nice to have. Of course, in healing intensive games where, you know, you really want to be able to heal people who are further away, like especially if you have like say a Pharah with a Mercy and stuff like that, you want to be able to heal them both really fast, or a I don't know, something that's really far away in general, right? Maybe a Widow that's standing in the background and needs heals, whatever. Anyway, these are good options, or a Ball or a Doomfist that's diving around, right? So both are useful. I like both additions. Now for the major perk, Swift Step can be used again within 4 seconds of its initial cast. This is extremely good. Like, it just is very, very good. I don't see why you would not take this. Let's take a look at the second one. Protection Scissor grants 40% movement speed to allies for 2 seconds. Kind of situational. I mean, 40% is a lot, and 2 seconds is a good time. So pretty good, but having double teleport, honestly, this opens up things. This opens up angles, different play options and stuff like this. You know, it's just awesome. This one is for people who don't really take advantage of flanks and stuff like this so much. But honestly, if you're not, then not that much point playing Kiriko. So honestly, I think that most people are just gonna go for the first one. This one just for people who just kind of like want to stay in the back and just chill, heal, not really, you know, diving, do a Suzu, stuff like that, get out. But honestly, the teleport is huge value. To me, it's a no-brainer. Just the first one is net superior. Next up is Lifeweaver. Life Grip cleanses negative effects, or while alive, regenerates 10 health per second. Upon death, drop a healing seed that heals allies for 250 health. I mean, honestly, this is my take on it though. Some people might feel differently about this, but honestly, when you life grip someone, you're already moving them into safety, and you're gonna toss them a healing petal right after, and you might be just pulling them onto high ground usually, or onto a petal or something like this. So I don't really know if you need this unless you're playing against like an Ana or something like that, and they are naded all the time, and you have to get this off. But technically, if you already pulled them to safety, it should already be okay, more or less, right? So I don't know. Well, this one though, this one is interesting because this regenerate 10 health per second is passive, right? You're constantly, so it's gonna be hard to kill. It's already hard to kill Lifeweaver, right? So this is gonna make it much harder for people to kill you, because you have a lot of HP, you have shields, you have petal, you have dash that also self heals, and then on top of that you get this. And upon death you have they brought this back. This was initially in the game when they launched Lifeweaver, the healing seed, right? I mean, this is just, you know, added flavor on top, but basically you have this thing. 10 health per second is not too much, so it's just, you know, but it helps because it's over time. Unless you get burst instantly, you know, this will be healing you over time. So if they're still chasing you in 5 seconds, it's 50 health. It's quite a bit, you know, especially if there's no one else there to heal you. So yeah, honestly, this can be good in certain situations, but usually I don't think you need it. I think this can be good, and this is also good if you die, you know, you get this 250 health. It can change things in a fight, you never know, right? Now the major perks, rejuvenating dash adds 20 healing to your next healing blossom within 3 seconds, or Thorns detonate for 30 extra damage when enough stick within 1.5 seconds. I don't know what enough stick means, but I assume several, because 1.5 seconds is a small window, so you need like maybe 5 to 10 sticking, something like that, right? Probably easy to pull off against tags, so this is probably nice tank buster. I don't know if it works against shields. If it works against shields, pretty nice, because you're already a pretty nice shield buster, right? You can do it from very long range. It's really nice. But this one adds 20 healing to your next healing blossom. I mean, honestly, I don't really know why I would get this in particular. I'll tell you one thing. Sometimes there are people in certain positions where you can't really heal, and they might just die very soon or something like that. So you make the decision to just you have to like dash to get there in time, you know, like get to this corner so you have line of sight to heal and stuff like this. And if you do and you have this perk, you can you know, first of all add a little bit more extra healing to them. So that's okay. But I don't know, 20 feels like a very small number. and you have to use the dash, you know. Usually the dash is used defensively, or like I said before, you really have to like get somewhere. I don't know exactly. I think that the second one, these are both honestly underwhelming. I think that the second one might be better overall. Yeah, this one is, I'm not sure, it feels a little bit like a filler for a rejuvenation, for a major perk. I'll have to think about this one. Maybe there's some applications right now that I'm missing, but honestly I don't think so. It's just 20 healing on a healing blossom, and the dash has several seconds cooldown, so it's not like you can spam this. So I don't know what 20 healing is going to do so much. Yeah. Alright, so next up, Lucio. Sunwave's knockback is increased by 15% or regenerate per ammo per second while wall riding. I mean, Boop is already pretty annoying, and it's good. If you increase the knockback, it's just going to be even more annoying to deal with, I guess, but nothing too overpowered here. I think it's, and 15% is not that much, honestly. But this one, regenerate for ammo per second while wall riding, this one is honestly kind of good. Per second for ammo is a lot. Okay, especially for the players who know how to play Lucio really well, this is like a no-brainer. I think they will just take this all the time because you just don't have to reload as much, and yeah, that reload just breaks the flow of the game so many times. Now for the major perks, we have crossfade range increased by 150% while Amp It Up is active, or Lucio's attack speed is increased by 50% while Amp It Up is active. I mean, honestly, people who play Lucio just to heal or something, honestly, I don't, you know, I wouldn't, there's no such thing really, especially in the higher ranks. This one is pretty insane, okay? 50% attack speed, 50%, coupled with this one. Okay, so this one and this one together, guys, this is gonna be really, really strong. Borderline broken, if you ask me, in the hands of Lucio. Like, give this to Frogger or SK, or, you know, honestly, what do you think is going to happen? Yeah, this is really good. This will basically, yeah, a lot of people will take this. It's just too good. The burst is going to be insane. Moving on to Mercy, we have Mercy receives 15 health per second while Caduceus staff is attached to a full health ally. Attached, mind you, so you don't have to damage boost or heal. It just has to, it can be either of them. This is pretty nice. 15 health per second. 15 is quite a good number, especially since you also have sympathetic recovery, so you can stay onto and damage boost someone without necessarily having to like you would normally. If you don't have this, you take some damage, you'd have to like maybe swap over to sympathetic recovery, I mean heal them to get a bit of health back or something like that, or go to someone else. With this one, you can probably hold your ground a little bit better overall, so I think this is honestly really good. She's already pretty hard to kill, so yeah, I don't think that this is her problem though. I don't think it's about Mercy getting survivability in the sense of like the amount of stuff, the amount of heals she gets and stuff like this. I think she just needs more to do more by herself. Okay, so Guardian Angel's range is increased by 30%. I mean, sometimes you want this. Sometimes, honestly, you want this. There are certain situations and certain maps and stuff like this where you just want this. Like, it's a good quality of life change. Honestly, I think that this should not be a perk. The Guardian Angel range should be increased by maybe, I don't know, 30%, but 15% maybe, and replace this with something else maybe. That's just my opinion. Now, secondary fire links to a second nearby ally. Really, like have a Sojourn and a soldier getting boosted at the same time. That's gonna be fun. I don't know. I mean, yeah, Mercy does need some love, but I don't know if this is the way to do it, in the sense of like dealing with one pocketed good DPS is already pretty annoying to do, so two is gonna be like, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see how this plays out. And what place this takes in the meta. Now the second one, Resurrect, can be used on a Caduceus staff active target to restore 150 health. Doing so incurs a 15-second cooldown. This is nice and interesting. First of all, the cooldown is not 30 seconds as it normally would be. It's only 15. So you ditch your res for 15 seconds, but you do this 150 health insta heal. 150 is a lot, guys. It's almost full HP for certain heroes. Yeah, this is a nice option for Mercy. It will also incur some skill expression because you need to know what you're doing. Like, would you rather keep your Rescue or use this? Yeah, I think this is pretty good tool. Yeah, pretty good option for Mercy. I don't know if this value is a little bit too much though. If it's instant, I would maybe go for something like 100 plus 50 over 1.5 seconds or something like that. I don't know if I want to get the full 150 over instantly. Seems a little bit too much. Okay, 150 is a little too much, but yeah, it is. The downside is that you have to forsake your resurrect for 15 seconds. So maybe it balances out this way. We'll have to see how it plays out in game. And my precious Moira, here we are. Yes, indeed. So let's see. Fade's duration is increased by 0.5 seconds, or Fade Jump's height is increased by 50%. Now, honestly, I mean, this is going to help for people who don't know how to Fade Jump off certain objects and stuff like this. So it is going to make certain jumps way more consistent, and I think even those fade jumps will be easier with this. However, the first one, the fade duration by 0.5 seconds, you think this wouldn't be a lot, but this will allow you first of all to cover much longer distances and to dive in or out, because that maximum speed the maximum speed of fade will be kept up for longer. Okay, so I think this is great, and this is also really good for fake fading. Okay, because because people will many times they will look there, see if, look at where you faded, see if you come back there, especially if you're like in a corner or something like that. But this 0.5 seconds, they're just gonna feel like, oh, okay, she's not coming back, so just looking away, and they run away, and you can fake fade easier. I think that personally, for me, I will be going for this one because I want that extra maximum speed on fade, and I want that extra time to be able to fake fades many times. Now the major ones, Biotic Orb's first 50 healing is instant on each ally it encounters, or enemies being damaged by your Biotic Orb receive 25% reduced healing. So the first thing I want to say here is this. This one is really good, okay, because you get 50% burst heals on each allied encounter. So if you send this, for example, if you have like, if your team is Zarya grabbed, or they're just, everyone took a lot of damage, the healing orb is going to instantly lose, like it has 300 total heals, right, that it can output. It's going to lose like 200, 150 to 250 depending on how much HP they're missing instantly, and then still keep on healing as it travels through them. So I think this is incredibly good, and honestly, this also works for yourself, by the way. I mean, I play with healing orbs all the time on myself. This is not just for your team. This is really, really good value. I think I'm probably going to take this most games. The second one I have some questions about. I'm not exactly sure how it works right now. First thing I want to know is if this 25% reduced healing, does this multiply or stack in any way with the DPS passive? Because if it does, it is very good. Very good. Otherwise, I don't know if I would forsake this one for having this 25% reduced healing. Honestly, I think that this is what most people will take, especially the ones who were experienced with Moira. This is also pretty good, but first of all, I mean, you have to make a choice. If you throw this orb, you cannot throw this one. You cannot have a healing orb, okay? So yeah, it's a little bit, you have to know what you're doing, and you also need to have a team that puts substantial pressure on, more pressure than the enemy in most situations, so that you don't need as many healing orbs. I feel, I mean, honestly, the thing is, you don't lose your healing orb. You can still use healing orbs, but they won't be as good as this. And if you try to emphasize getting the bonus from this one, you're gonna have your orb on cooldown, right? So this is the argument I'm making. We're gonna have to see how it plays out. If this stacks with DPS passive, it's gonna be pretty insane. Otherwise, I think this is going to be the better choice overall. Alright, so Zenyatta. Snap Kick's knockback distance is increased by 30%, or activate and hold double jump to hover up for up to 3 seconds. Now I've seen these in effect. This one is really fun and really cool, and it can make you traverse high ground, guys. You can, for example, there are gaps, right? You're somewhere on a high ground and there's like another high ground over there. You have to like go down, take some stairs or stuff like this, you know, to get up there. With this one, you can just basically levitate through the air all the way to that other high ground, or that other ledge that you need to get to seamlessly. It is absolutely great. So honestly, I think that a lot of people will go for this. This one is also very good, but the thing is, it's just the knockback. There is no added damage to it. So honestly, if it gave it a little bit more damage, but it already does a lot of damage. He has his you know, his passive boosts his quick melee. So honestly, if it had a bit more damage, maybe more people would take it, but with this one, you just can't go wrong, right? Especially on certain maps. Like on certain maps, it's just a no-brainer to take this one. Oh, and it works with his ult, by the way. It works with his ult. You can basically go at super speed, hovering through the air. It is just so awesome, okay? So try it out. I think people will love this. Now for the major perks, we have secondary fire charges, 20% faster, and can store 1 extra orb of destruction, or Zenyatta's heal orb of harmony targets for Zenyatta heals orb of harmony targets for 20% of his damage dealt to orb of discord targets. Now, honestly, the first one is really good, because first of all, so not only can you shoot 1 more orb of destruction, but you charge faster too. So if, for example, if you want to theoretically get the same damage off from a charge shot as you did now, it's 20% faster to do so. But if you don't, then you have, and you charge for the same duration, you get 1 extra orb of destruction, which is honestly really strong. In my opinion, this is what is going to be more popular. Now this one is a little bit it's not as exciting, and I don't think of course it translates, like it is something, it's basically lifesteal for someone else on your team that you have the orb of harmony on. Lifesteal that comes from you. So instead of lifestealing for you, you're lifestealing for someone else from your damage. 20% is not that much though extra, and forsaking this for this, I don't really know if that's something you would want to do. Honestly, Zenyatta is not a healing focused hero. You don't go Zen to focus on ridiculous amounts of healing. I mean, this is a crutch, it can help sometimes, but honestly the offensive potential from the first major perk is just really good. So I would definitely go with this one in most games, undoubtedly. Alright everyone, thank you so much for watching. I hope you found the information in this video useful, and if you did, then please do subscribe to my channel, because I intend to put out more content like this. Yay! And not just like this. I have also been working on gameplay montages. For example, I have recently uploaded a gaming montage with the best moments and highlights from my stream from season 14. You can find this video probably coming up on your screen right about now at the end of this video. So go ahead and check that out. And if you want to know where to find me on Twitch, well, it's twitch.tv/itsxotv. And the link for that is also in the description below. So come by my stream and check it out. Let's hang out, and I'll see you guys next time.